Here, this video is going to provide each role with a couple of universally standard rune pages and explain the basics on the core elements on what you have to concern yourself with to get the perfect rune page and how they normally depend on who your verse is. These are not just pages I'm going to randomly throw at you. These are not pages I'm just going to say, oh, these work in these circumstances. I'm going to give basics and a couple of adaptables. So if you think your rune page is good now, it probably has a couple of issues with it. I'm going to explain what you're meant to get depending upon what circumstance your verse is or who your verse is, or what team, of course, as well. Now, if you don't want to watch all that and get all that detail, there is a reference picture which I will link now for the time at the end of the video. If you don't want to watch it and you only want the pages, without further ado, let's jump right in and let's get going. Jungle rune pages. Tank junglers, example Amumu, Nautilus, and Zac. 9 marks of armor. This armor is basically to make you durable during the jungle. You're a full tank, you don't need any damage from this point. 9 seals of armor, standard, because the jungle only does physical damage. It only does physical damage. Now this is important for my next point. 9 glyphs of scaling magic resist. Now the reason we're going to get scaling magic resist and not any other, and I'm only going to explain this once in very big detail, then for the next few videos I'm just going to say refer to this point. The jungle does absolutely zero magical damage. There is not one speck of it. So you are, for your first couple of levels, are just farming. You're just getting a couple of camps here and there. You're just farming up the red, you're getting the raptors, you're getting the wolves, you're getting the blue. So you're going to level up to about 4 or 5. At that point, you're coming close to flat magic resist regardless anyway. In the jungle, unless you're ganking really early in a full magic based team, which is really rare, I don't advise getting this. Get yourself 9 scaling magic resist, so while you're leveling in the jungle, you're getting the use of the scaling without any other worries, because you're not taking magical damage, and flat magic resist, it just isn't used for the first 5 levels of your game. This is an important point. I will not reiterate again, and it's going to take a long time, but the rest I'm just going to mention this. And finally, 3 quints of HP. Now the reason we're getting quints of HP is because they already have enough armor with their seals and marks, and HP is more valuable of a stat early game in terms of absolute tankiness than an armor is. I'm going to do a video on this in the future, but it's very important to acknowledge. Additionally, most tank junglers like Nautilus and Zac, the more HP you have, the more effective your abilities are, and this just helps out. Bruiser junglers, example Poppy, Jax, or Vi. 9 marks of attack damage. These bruisers do want to do a little bit of damage. This is the only place we can really place it. 9 seals of armor, because we are taking physical damage in the jungle. 9 glyphs of scaling magic resist, you now know why. And 3 quints of attack speed. Now the reason why we get quints of attack speed is because the vast majority of bruisers want to stick to the target. Extra attack speed helps you do that. Also, most of them on hit of augments. Vi and Jax, just in this list alone, have additional damage based upon how many times you can hit that target. If you're looking to stay close and do damage, attack speed is what you're looking for. If you want to blow people up as a bruiser jungle, you can go for AD quints, but I advise attack speeds. They're a little bit more universally applicable. AP junglers, example Fiddlesticks, Elise, and Evelyn. 9 marks of magic penetration. Now unfortunately the magic pen's a bit wasted. The jungle unfortunately has no magic resist at all, so that means that you're penning nothing, but when you're ganking people it will eventually become more useful, and there's no real other alternative we can get. 9 seals of armor to survive the jungle, 9 glyphs of scaling magic resist, because early game you know why, and 3 quints of ability power to do some damage. Very simple. AD assassin junglers, or AD bruisers if you really want to push it. Examples are Jarvan, Kha'Zix, and of course Lee Sin. 9 marks of attack damage, 9 seals of armor, 9 glyphs of scaling magic resist, and 3 quints of attack damage. Really standardized. We get AD wherever we can, we get the seals just to basically survive, and the scaling magic resist is for the reasons you already know. AD carry rune pages. Auto attack AD carries. For example, Ashe, Caitlyn, or Tristana. 9 marks of attack damage, because all AD carries do physical damage, you want to get AD, and it also helps you last hit as well. 9 seals of armor. The reason why we get 9 seals of armor is relatively simple. Early game, you're versus a AD carry, attack damage carry, and they're going to do physical damage no matter what happens, so seals of armor are always standardized to survive a little bit of poke versus them, and of course their main lion's share of damage, which is physical. 9 glyphs of scaling MR, flat MR, or a mixture. Now this is one, again, I'll not be covering again, so listen up. 9 skill, you get scaling MR if your versus no AP. So if your versus a lane that just isn't going to do much magical damage, so for example if your versus a Tahm Kench, although he does magical damage, it's not that much, so you can get away with getting scaling magic resist because he's not going to poke you that much. Now say you're versus a Sona, you're going to want to get 9 glyphs of flat MRs, so you can resist the early game as much as possible and just nullify a lot of her extra damage. Now you can get a mixture, so if you're versus something like, let's say, a Braum, he's got a bit of magical damage. You can get 2 or 3 MR, or if you're versus a Braum Ezreal, let's say. Ezreal's got a bit of magic damage, so does Braum, but you don't really want to get too much. You can get yourself, I would say in general, it's 5 for scaling and 4 flats. So, get scaling MR if you're versus someone who does very little magical damage, because you can get away with it and let it scale up to overcome the flats. If you're versus a lot of magical damage, get flat MR, and if you're versus a decent amount you're not too scared of, do get a mixture. Very simple. From here we get 2 quints of attack damage, just for extra AD, and 1 quint of attack speed, because you're an auto attack based carry. This helps you augment the damage, so Ashe, obviously with extra auto attacks, gets her Q earlier, Caitlyn gets her headshot earlier, Tristana gets extra damage on her E. Auto attack AD carries always do well with attack speed, and 1 quint, it does push you in the right direction. Caster AD carries, example, Lucian, Graves, and Varus. 9 marks of attack damage, since you're all caster based, you need as much AD as possible, 9 seals of armor, I've already mentioned it, 9 glyphs of skilling MR, flat MR, or a mixture, I've already mentioned it, and 3 quints of attack damage. You're caster AD carrying to blow people up with the most amount of AD possible. You're not going to be auto attacking that much, at least without abilities, so that's not too important. Attack speed AD carry, example, Vayne, Kog'Maw, Kindred. 9 marks of attack damage, well, this is pretty standard. You still need AD as an AD carry, you don't want to ignore that out too much. 9 seals of armor, I've already explained, 9 glyphs of skilling MR, flat MR, or a mixture, I've already explained it, and 3 quints of attack speed. So this is the only difference we get, because all of their damage mid to late game primarily is dedicated upon them actually hitting a target repetitively in a quick succession. Attack speed's better than AD. Vayne getting an extra silver bolt or 2 out during a fight is a lot more than, let's say 4 or 5 AD, it just is. So if you're looking on these champions, you can pick this up. It's not a very common page, it does leave you with a bit of a weak early game, but they do scale quite a bit better. Support rune pages, tank support example, Tam Kench, Alistar, or Taric. We start off with 9 marks of armor for early durability, 9 seals of armor or skilling HP. Really just depends on your preference in this one. I find the armor is a lot better in universal though. 9 glyphs of skilling MR, flat MR, or a mixture. This is the same point as the AD carry. It's about what you're versus. You're versus a lot of magic. Get yourself a little bit of flat MR. If you're versus very little or just pretty much no magic, get yourself skilling MR, it's a lot better, and get a mixture. 2 quints of health. Now the reason we get 2 quints of health is because most of these tanks, if not all of them, are just a lot more durable early game with HP over armor, and they always have some augment with additional armor in their kit, additional HP, additional damage reduction, which health works with a lot more valuably than armor. We do get 1 quint of armor in the end just for early game harassment though. AP supports, example, Karma, Sona, and Morgana. 9 marks of hybrid penetration. Now, the reason why we start with this is because early game, Karma, Sona, and Lulu, Morgana, all of these people will, Nami even, they'll auto attack a lot. AP supports auto attack a lot. They do that a lot. And on top of that, they also do a lot of magical damage. Now, early game, the auto attacking of a support can literally win you the lane. This is the reason why we get hybrid penetration. We have make sure auto attacks are actually hurting a bit early game, and make sure we get a little bit of extra damage on that pen. 9 seals of armor just to help out versus the early AD carries damage versus you. 9 glyphs of skilling MR, flat MR, mixture, I've already explained it, and 3 quints of ability power for a little bit of extra poke damage and a bit of extra burst. Mid lane runes. AP standard, for example, Xerath, Ziggs, and Victor. 9 marks of magic penetration. This is basically just to ensure we're doing the most amount of damage possible. There's no real other red rune we can possibly get something good into beyond magic pen. 9 seals of armor or 9 seals of scaling HP. Now this of course depends on who you're versus. If you're versus a physical damage dealer, you want to get seal of armor. If you're versus anything else, you want to go for seal of skilling HP. Now the reason why we do this is because in terms of the seals, there's nothing really else we can substitute it out for in terms of help for an AP caster beyond some sort of defense. So it's either armor or skilling HP. Now armor versus AD targets versus AP targets, skilling HP, you should get the time for the skill out. 9 glyphs of magic resist or 9 glyphs of skilling CDR. Once again, it depends who you're versus. You're versus an AP damage dealer, 9 glyphs of magic resist flat very easily. You're not versus 1 glyph of skilling CDR can be a very nice pickup. And finally 3 quints of ability power for more damage. AD Assassin, example Zed, Yasuo, or Talon. 9 quints of armor penetration gives us more AD to basically do more damage because we're an AD caster of course. 9 seals of armor for versus a physical damage dealer, or 9 seals of skilling HP for versus anything else. 9 glyphs of skilling MR if we're not versus someone who's basically got themselves too much AP early game, or just get flat MR if you're versus another magic damage dealer. You can also get 9 CDR skillers, but I don't find them as effective. I like a bit of durability on my AD Assassins. Finally, 3 quints of attack damage for more damage. AP movement speed. For example, Anivia, Syndra, or Veigar. This works for any mid laner, realistically speaking. I'm just saying these are the best ones. Generally, any mid laner that has a lot of pick potential but is generally quite slow can work out really well with these guys. 9 marks of Magic Pen for extra damage, 9 seals of armor or seal of skilling HP depending upon who you're versus, 9 glyph of magic resist or glyph of skilling CDR depending upon who you're versus, and 3 counts of movement speed. This allows us to set up spells a little bit more easily, kite out a little bit better, and more importantly, like with Anivia, set up a wall and a pick very, very easily, more so than you normally could have with very low base movement speed. Top lane runes. Top lane tank, for example, Malphite, Cyan, or Maokai. 9 marks of hybrid penetration. So basically, top lane tanks in general do magical and physical damage, especially start game with auto attacks, and of course, predominantly a little bit of magical. So from here, hybrid penetration I found to be the most effective. They actually have some sort of offensive stats. 9 seals of armor or seals of scaling HP. 9 seals of armor versus a physical damage dealer if you're not, or you feel like you want to scale out, skilling HP. 9 glyphs of skilling MR or flat MR. So it depends again. You're versus an AP laner, flat MR. You're versus someone who doesn't have that much AP or any at all, skilling MR. And finally 3 counts of health or armor. I find the 3 counts of health are a little bit more effective than armor. Of course it does depend on who you're versus. A massively physical oriented base champion, armor could be a wee bit more effective, but I find health is a better universal pickup. Bruiser top lane, for example Shyvana, Garen, or Fiora. 9 marks of armor penetration, 9 seals of armor or seal of skilling HP, I've mentioned it, 9 glyph of skilling MR or flat MR, and finally 3 counts of attack damage as tanks, so we want to go a little bit more offensive. Top lane AP, for example, Lissandra, Keel, or even Rise. 9 marks of magic penetration, 9 seals of armor or skilling HP depending upon who you're versus, 9 glyph of skilling MR or flat MR, and finally 9 quints of ability bar. Finally, here's a list of all of them together. It's a little bit rough, but I hope it's helped. I'm sorry about the explanation, guys. I know a lot of it's very repetitive, but it's really important. The basic concept of switching out seals and glyphs depending upon who you're versus is pretty much a core concept that you should really understand inherently. I find that just throwing the pages at you and just giving you a bunch of pages is incorrect because they can never be correct because you've got to change them depending, and I hope this helps. And that's it for the video, guys. If you like it, dislike it, dislike. If you like the content, you can subscribe. If you think it's horrible and totally dropped the ball, you can unsub it, totally fair. Beyond that, guys, have a great day. Best luck on the Rift, and hopefully I'll see you guys next time.